Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 2. What a shambolic performance from the Red Devils. What went wrong tactically against the Eagles at Old Trafford? Without any further ado, let's analyze. Alright, so let's get started with this tactical analysis video, and today we are gonna focus only on the build-up phase because I think that that's one of the most frustrating elements of Ruben Amorim's tactics. We struggled with that for years, but especially in this 3-4-3 system, which I think is not really conducive to expensive build-up football from Manchester United. Now, of course, under Ruben Amorim, and in this video I'm gonna highlight the good, which allowed us to have a lot of control in the game, as well as the bad. In the second half, all of those principles that the Manchester United players simply forgotten, they simply vanished from their collective memory. So, of course, under Ruben Amorim, what we have in the build-up is usually a 3-2 shape. However, the main problem with that is that the opposition usually they box the two central midfielders, which renders them absolutely obsolete in the build-up phase. However, in this game, what we actually saw is Bruno Fernandes being given more freedom in that deep line playmaker role, basically dropping every time in the build-up to form a back four with the defenders. This had a few advantages. The first one is obviously the fact that it gives us another man here, which means that the opposition cannot really commit to the press because we simply have more players behind the ball. Therefore, we can pass around them. By doing that, they will actually compromise their defensive structure and we'd be able to go through the middle. Also, the other thing is that we end up with 5 opposition players occupying Ugarte. That means that Bruno Fernandes has a lot more time on the ball. And of course, the advantage of that is quite clear. He's actually our best playmaker, our most technical player, our flair player. But also there is another benefit, and it is that with Bruno Fernandes having more time on the ball, it actually allows our more advanced players to make better moves of the ball so that Bruno Fernandes can find them. So here, as we can see, of course, this defensive structure by the opposition is completely obsolete. It serves no purpose. But here, as you see, before Bruno Fernandes actually executes this pass, we have Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo both dropping deep. Now, this is, of course, a key benefit of us having more time on the ball because it allows the players to move into space. But also there is actually a hidden threat here. And it is that as the opposition were focused on the central areas, Mazraoui was actually able to make quite a nice run into space. And Bruno Fernandes, because he was given a lot of time, he was able to execute quite a precise ball. So now, Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho, who both dropped deep, now have made long busting runs into the box. And here Kobbie Mainoo, just like in the game against Steaua Bucharest, is able to attack that half space. And Garnacho is positioning himself the way a striker would into that, 6-yard box. And this should have been a goal. And it would have been a wonderful goal because it just displays some really amazing, principles of build-up play. And I just loved it. That was a pretty good sequence from Manchester United. Here's another example of the role of Kobbie Mainoo playing in that false 9. Again, that structure from the opposition. But here, Euro can actually go long through the middle because Kobbie Mainoo has dropped in. But that's not the end of it, because as Kobbie Mainoo laid the ball to Amad Diallo, what we see here is this move by Garnacho, which is impeccable because instead of hugging the touchline in that left winger position, he knows that with the ball being here, he needs to come in and support the players. What this does is that now it allows us to have this triangle of players who are quite technically at ease with Amad, Garnacho, and Kobbie Mainoo, and incessant movement. This means that there is always options. Therefore, we can actually keep moving the ball more effectively. Same thing here in this sequence with Bruno Fernandes again dropping in the defense to collect the ball. Same thing, this like diamond or pentagon shape from the opposition is all kind of remaining busy with Ugarte. But Ugarte is not really the threat. In fact, we don't really need Ugarte in the build-up as much as we need Bruno Fernandes. So as the ball moves into wide areas, what we have here again is this same triangle and this great intricate sequence of passes between Dalot, Garnacho, and Kobbie Mainoo. Again, Kobbie Mainoo playing very well here as a false 9. He was very good in that role in the first half. And then in the second half, things just didn't work out, okay? And then Dalot here. He should have gone into just cut inside on your right foot and then shoot at goal or maybe a through ball towards Mazraoui. But of course, Dalot, I don't know how a player with this low of a football IQ can still play for Manchester United. Now, I hate being mean and calling players names, but Dalot's decision-making is just absolutely insane. Guys, if you've made it this far into the video, please don't forget to give it the thumbs up. Anyway, let's keep going. So here what I have is actually the story of the game when it comes to attacking momentum. And as you can see, for the first half, the majority of the momentum has been in Manchester United's favor, with the exception of this part right here, where actually Crystal Palace had a couple of good, clear-cut chances. But as you can see, this is where Crystal Palace scored the goal, which was around the 63rd, 64th minute. But as you can see, prior to that, all of the momentum was actually in Crystal Palace's favor. And here I'm going to show you why that was the case. Many of you ask me questions. You're like, hey, Mr. Scarlett, why is it that we cannot control games? Well, now I'm going to show you why. And it has everything to do with the build-up phase. 58 minutes, so 5 minutes leading up to us conceding the goal. This is what happened. Again, same shape. But here we're going to see a problem with the decision-making of the players, because here, Lisandro Martinez had two options. He could have gone with a, albeit risky, pass, but Lisandro Martinez can execute that. He's technically very good, towards Kobbie Mainoo. Or he could have played the safest option, which is to go with Dalot, who then could find Kobbie Mainoo, and even Garnacho is actually further than Kobbie Mainoo. So here the problem is, of course, the decision-making of Lisandro Martinez with the ball, but then, of course, the movement of Kobbie Mainoo, which was not optimized. Same thing here in this sequence. So again, the same structure from the opposition. We go into the right wing, but then here as Ugarte gets the ball, this area right here, who is there? And as I've shown you in the first half, we usually had players like Ahmad or Kobbie Mainoo always dropping into these areas to be involved in the play so that we can get the ball out. But in the second half, none of this happens. So here Ugarte has to go long. But in this area right here, you should have had someone like Ahmad or Garnacho occupying this area. But look at all of the empty space. So we made it quite easy for Crystal Palace to just pin us in our own half. And we just kept on handing them the ball over and over again. Look, 61st minute. We are talking about a couple of minutes since the other sequences I showed you. And here Crystal Palace used a different setup. So here they were kind of like pressing us through the middle with three players. But then with Munoz and Eze over here, just holding their positions and just waiting for the triggers, which means when the ball goes into the wide areas. And again, they were quite effective with this method as well, as you're going to see here. As the ball moves towards the wide area, notice how Munoz is not actually involved. He's just waiting. Here, what we could have done again, Bruno Fernandes should have moved into this position, or Kobbie Mainoo should have moved deeper to make it easier for Lisandro Martinez to find him, or maybe wider again so we can go through Dalot into Kobbie Mainoo. But again, none of that happens. What we end up with is this. Dalot, he just controls the ball. Look, Bruno Fernandes is still available. Why are we giving away possession? What is this? How did Diogo Dalot think that this would have been a good decision? I mean, come on, it doesn't make sense at all. You cannot make this shit up. So of course, because we were just giving away possession cheaply to Crystal Palace, they were pinning us in our own turf. That means that a lot of our players, you could see that they were starting to get rattled, especially Lisandro Martinez. And then, of course, he commits this foul, which in my opinion is kind of unnecessary. And then, of course, from that foul, Crystal Palace, of course, were able to score from quite a basic set piece. Again, he and Lenioro should have won this. I mean, that's just a lack of positioning from Lenioro. Of course, you expect that from younger players, but come on, we got to do better, okay? And then, of course, Mateta scores it. So Manchester United lost this game because of lack of control. And I think that tactically, this game was actually quite interesting because on the one hand, Ruben Amorim has identified a weakness in his team when it comes to the build-up. That 3-2 shape is simply not suitable for the players that we have, especially with a player like Bruno Fernandes, who is our chief creator. He needs to be involved a lot more in the build-up phase. Therefore, Ruben Amorim has given him different instructions. Drop deeper, get more involved in the build-up phase. This actually has allowed us to control the game in the first half, as I've shown you in this video. But there is another factor as well, another layer, and it's Glasner. Glasner is actually great at changing the course of the game and making tactical changes. I've talked about that when, when he played against us with Erik ten Hag. And again, he did the same thing here against Amorim, because what I think happened is Glasner was just as surprised as we were when he saw the Manchester United lineup. Nobody expected a strikerless formation from Manchester United. So I think that their setup in the beginning, because it's hard to change things up mid-game, was to actually back off Manchester United a little bit. Don't press too high, because they were afraid of the threat of Højlund or someone like Xerxes holding up the play, where players like Garnacho or Diallo could make runs in behind, okay? So they were a little bit more conservative with their approach. So this gave us more time. However, in the second half, during halftime, I'm sure that Glasner just looked at his players and he was like, guys, there is no threat forward. Ahmad, Garnacho, Kobbie Mainoo, they are not used to playing in this system. They are young. Manchester United doesn't really have that much threat on the wings with Mazraoui and Dalot. So second half, this is what we're going to do. We are going to suffocate them. We're going to smother them. And that's exactly what happened. And when that happened, our build-up strategy simply crumbled. And the Manchester United players, or Ruben Amorim, were unable to adapt. But I think it's mainly a Manchester United player issue rather than a Manchester United tactical issue because, like I showed you, the players simply, their decision making was simply not there, and we have to do better. These are multimillionaire professional footballers. So I think that this system that Ruben Amorim has in place could work, but definitely not with these players. I mean, our squad definitely needs a lot of that and needs players of specific profiles that we currently simply don't have. So guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this tactical analysis video. If you did, please give the video the thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.